Hi, I'm Madonna Guy from New Leaf Natural Therapies. I've been a kinesiologist and natural therapist, naturopath for about 30 years now. One of the things that's always been a challenge in the clinic is anything to do with weight loss and fat loss. There is no magic pill, as we all know. In the last few years, so many of my clients are actually choosing to do things like the injections from the pharmaceutical industries, and they, of course, have all sorts of side effects. In fact, one of the biggest side effects is that as soon as people stop doing the injections, the weight starts rebounding. And there's lots of mechanisms from my perspective where that happens. So the only thing that's happened, worked for me for the last 15, 20 years for weight loss has been HCG. So before that, I was vegetarian for about 20 years. And the whole time I was vegetarian, I was always over about 4 or 5 kilos in fat mass and under about 4, 5, 6 kilos in muscle mass. So I was fairly lean, but I always had what's called sarcopenic obesity, which is a skinny fat person. So there's too much fat, not enough muscle, and it's hard to maintain because you don't have the metabolism, which is driven by the muscle. So when I discovered HCG, one of the things that I found very, very quickly for me is that it regained the muscle quality and the muscle mass. And I also had that with another product at some stage during my vegetarian journey, when I started taking a big dose of a particular product that increases the production of stem cells from the bone marrow. So that was also, so two different things in my, I'm 55, two different things have regained my muscle mass and muscle quality and allowed me to be lean. But again, lifestyle and everything, lifestyle allows us to put that weight back on, of course, when we're not being perfect. HCG is a 500-calorie diet in combination with a homeopathic that's 10 drops 3 times a day. But if you go over that 500 calories, your weight can come back on in the form of fat. So when Kirsten first contacted me 6-8 weeks ago and said, hey, there's this brilliant new thing coming to Australia, I'm like, yeah, it's not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work. And until I got back from my holiday, where, of course, I'd put on 3.5 kilos, I ignored it. And then I had a little bit of time to start listening to some of the videos that were coming out. And then I started paying attention to the science. And then I went, holy cow. And that's when I ordered it. And I still wasn't convinced. And I still kept, listening to people until finally the penny dropped. Finally, I got that hint of what this really, really, truly is. And the 70 years of research that is currently in there in relation to this matured bitter hops extract. So from a herbalist, because I'm a herbalist as well. So from a herbal perspective, I've got hops in lots of things. There's lots of sleep products that have hops in. I've got it on the shelf. It's something I love in my beer. But, it's sort of one of those things that I've never thought of it in relation to weight loss, because, of course, it's not a weight loss herb. But there's a particular component or a particular extract that's in hops that, what's it called, Kirsten? Is it called adiphyte? So they had to make up a name for it because it doesn't actually, it doesn't have a name. But this extract has been studied since 1953. 1953. So we got 70 years of data on it. And 5 companies in 70 years have tried to make that extract available in a cost-effective form for people and have failed. So in 1953 dollars, it took $1 million to extract a gallon of it. So you can imagine for Big Pharma, who was trying to make some money of it in the time, it just wasn't viable at the time. And 5 times they've failed ever since. And one night going to sleep, one of the researchers had a divine inspiration and the next day went into work and said, I think we know how to make this extract. So then they started working on the process, and now they have the process down pat. They've patented the process, and now they've got it available in 22 countries. And what it does is stimulates visceral fat in the gut. So visceral fat is around all of your major organs. It's released as energy, and it does what? There's all those guys out there these days who are saying you've got to have your cold showers every day. You've got to get in your ice baths. If you do that every day for the rest of your life, you'll never put on belly fat. How many people wanted to go into a cold shower during winter? Not this little black duck. So it's one of those things where when you start to look at the benefits through releasing visceral fat, because visceral fat, abdominal obesity, increases all-cause mortality. All cause. It doesn't matter what it is. It makes us more likely to get everything from A to Z. You know what I'm talking about. So just about everything that's getting people on the planet, reducing your visceral fat can help. Now, the other way that it works, and I'm still not clear on how this mechanism works, but the vagus nerve is part of the healing mechanism of this substance, of this extract. So the vagus nerve, because it's around all your organs and the brain and everywhere from the tip of your head to the bottom of your tailbone, the vagus nerve is one of the ones that's been very, very affected with things in the last couple of years. So lots of toxins like attaching themselves to the vagus nerve. So if we start allowing that vagus nerve to act beautifully and functionally, then we find that there can be an increase in mood and an increase in less energy. I met a lady this morning. I was at a business meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning, and one of my friends came over and said, oh, so-and-so's taking that product. So I happened to sit next to her. She's been taking it since Sunday. She's got less nerve pain than she's had in several years. So that was really interesting to hear. So she just sort of, I had my little snap and I popped it into my coffee there this morning. And she said, oh, I see you're taking it. And I said, yeah, Janine said you were, sorry, no names. Janine said you were taking it, haha. And then she started telling me that, you know, she has got less nerve pain than she's had in a long time. And that's really, because what is that? That's like 5 days, 6 days, which is quite interesting. And I've got another lady who contacted me last night, and she's been taking it at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and it's working beautifully for her. She's just feeling many, many results in the body, which is just fabulous. So when we start activating that visceral fat, we're increasing our metabolism, and because it works through increasing digestive enzymes like glucagon, which is a fat loss hormone, and CCK, cholecystokinin. Basically, these are going to allow our digestion to work better as well. When the gut is working better, we make most of our hormones in concert with the gut. So the better the gut, the liver, the gallbladder work, the better our hormones function. So long term, I can really see this being one of those core supplements that can help with many, many things. And I've had a few things over the years that I consider like base level things that if you get them right, then you can sort out lots of other things. And then as a naturopath, you add in other things on top once you work out that that's not the problem anymore, because we've got that bit sorted. So some of the studies that Naturopath Nate has been looking at is that it helps to improve the microbiome. Now, again, naturopathically, we're only about 10 years into research with this, but the microbiome is a couple of kilos in size. That's how many bacteria we've got in our intestines. Now, because this improves the microbiome, it makes me think, right, so all of those things that people are doing poo transplants for on the planet, potentially it can help all of those. Things like IBS, and I don't know, but it's just interesting from that perspective, because when we're changing the microbiome, we're changing our health, we're changing our immune system, we're changing the nervous system layer in the gut. There's like 7 layers to the gut, and nervous system and immune layers are 2 of them. So there's so many functions that it may end up impacting on because it's impacting on the gut itself. So that's very exciting. With the vagus nerve, all you have to do is go onto YouTube and go vagus nerve stimulation, and you will find thousands of videos on vagus nerve stimulation and all of the benefits that it can impact on our life. So when doctors do vagus nerve stimulation with mechanical processes, they use it for things like nerve pain and migraines and gut issues and anxiety and depression and all sorts of things. So again, if we're thinking that, you know, my friend who had less nerve pain in 5 days, And she took 3 for the first 3 days. Sorry, she took 1 for the first 3 days, and now she's up to 2 per day. That's what she chose to do. With one of my ladies this morning, I muscle tested up, and she's got a really sensitive gut. So it muscle tested up for her when they arrived to do 1 every second day initially, make sure it's going okay, and then increase to 1 per day for a few days. And then if that's feeling good, to get on to 2 per day. So that's sort of, I always muscle test these things because I'm a kinesiologist and I can. But the safety data, that's the other really cool thing. Like when the safety profile is phenomenal. So because again, they've done years of clinical research and they've just found there's a very, 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 it's just an incredibly low safety profile. So side effects are very, very low. People might have more diarrhea or something because it's stimulating your liver, your gut, that sort of thing. Absolutely, you might get detoxing. If you're not drinking enough water, you might get headaches. How many people start something to do with fat loss and forget to drink the water? The last thing you ever want to do when you're doing a fat loss program is start releasing fat and not getting it out of your body. Because what is the point of releasing the fat, not getting it out, then you're just going to store it again. And this is what happens with people who do infrared saunas and things as well. So they do the sauna, they forget to drink the water, then they get a headache, then they ring me and say, you told me to have saunas and now I'm getting headaches. I go, did you drink any water? They say no. So, you know, people need to drink purified water, about that 40 mils per kilo of your weight. You need to just have it next to you. So I've got water, I've got a collagen drink, you know, so just keep on sipping away on that all day long. And yeah, you're going to pee more, but you'll be peeing out the fat. So that's really exciting. So every time you're having a pee, you're peeing out some fat. So that's a really nice thing. The other thing that we really need to do is make sure that we're keeping our moods balanced. So when I first started doing HCG, one of the things I realized, again, as a kinesiologist and as someone who had been going through a lot of stress at the time, I realized that fat is also where we store some emotional gear. So if we're releasing fat cells and all of the neurotransmitters are coming out into your bloodstream, you might actually be triggering some old emotional gear that you have not dealt with yet, or had been safely stored in your fat tissue and now it's come out to play. So really interesting. So because I'm a crazy person, I've actually got my weights written down for the last 20 years, and it's on a spreadsheet. For a few years, it was in lots of books in my drawer next to my bed. And then one crazy summer, I actually put all of that onto a spreadsheet. So now when I'm a certain weight, I can go back and find out the last time in history when I was that weight. And when I'm having an emotional day, sometimes it's when something really crap was happening in my world. And then I put on some weight, because that's one of the ways that we store emotional gear is through our weight. So be aware of your emotions. Make sure you've got some family or friends or someone who's supportive that you can talk it out through, or a natural therapist that you can go have a balance with. You know, doesn't matter, whatever is your thing. You know, run your bioresonance, have your kinesiology, have a massage, do whatever you need to do. But be kind to yourself during this as well, because yes, the weight loss is going to be awesome, you know, over a period of time, because this thermogenesis that this matured bitter hops extract creates is amazing, but it might be releasing toxins, because all sorts of toxins don't want to be in your bloodstream. If you've had anesthetics, you might get anesthetics dumped out into your body. If you've had, you know, sort of dental work with amalgams and stuff, you might get heavy metals coming out of your body. If you're on big pharmaceuticals, you might get the residue of those coming out into your body. So be aware. If you've got your bioresonance device at home, you know, there's lots of those little things that people might have, you know, be running your device, you know, make sure you're keeping yourself nice and clean. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water, you know, get into that. One of the things that I find really interesting is that one of the researchers commented that one of the things that this product does, the mature bitter hops extract, it puts all calories on an even playing field. Now, for me as a naturopath, that's always been interesting, because of course things like alcohol are absorbed first, sugars are absorbed second, our starchy carbohydrates third, our normal carbohydrates fourth, and then our proteins, and then our fat. But because, again, this has such a good thermogenesis effect that it puts all those calories on an even playing field, which means that we don't have to feel so guilty if we have a night out with someone. We don't have to feel so guilty if we're having a Sunday meal with a family. Because these are the things that people say to me every day in the clinic. People have so much guilt and angst about what they're eating on this planet. It's a real crazy time on the planet. I've got so many clients, are having issues. Not only that, but because we are supporting the microbiome, if we, go into PubMed and Google microbiome, there's tens of thousands of research papers on it connected to just about every disease known to man. So when we're improving the microbiome, we're improving the cellular quality of just about every organ in the body over a period of time. Now, because I've been using HCG for a long time, and because I know that my weight has been an issue for most of my life, I think around 12 to 17, I didn't have so much of an issue, or maybe 12 to 25, something like that. So that wasn't too bad. But I grew up in a normal family with normal big pharmaceuticals. And I interviewed Dr. Rima Labo a few years ago, and I remember her saying, every drug works via destroying an enzyme pathway in the body. And she said, if we like that effect, we call it a positive benefit of that pharmaceutical. If we don't like that side effect, then we call it, if we don't like that effect, we call it a side effect of that drug. So isn't that interesting that every pharmaceutical can create an issue with an enzyme pathway? So for all of us who have had issues with weight, because obviously this is what's drawn us to the matured bitter hops extract, I wonder what we've done in our past, whether it's emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, toxin-wise, what have we done that's messed with our microbiomes, or messed with our enzyme pathways, or messed with our ability to make these hormones that help to keep us thin? Because whatever that is, I don't have it. So, and I'm sure that might resonate, so most of us have had things go on in our life. And, and trauma and stress. We know that trauma and stress actually can increase people's weight. There's something called the ACE study, where there's a couple of decades of study after people with adverse childhood events under the age of 18, and how one of the things that can happen to these, the higher the ACE score is obesity. So again, the thing that I love about these matured bitter hops extract is the fact that it works on both the microbiome, the visceral fat, and the vagus nerve. To me, that is just really, really exciting. So my naturopathic brain has been going a bit crazy ever since I really started listening to the things. And I'm sure a lot of natural therapists who have opened their minds to this, and they're thinking about their clients, and they're thinking, well, how can it affect this? How can it affect that? How can it affect something else? Because there's big stuff going on the planet. Just about every grain we eat will have glyphosate. Just about every time we're on a main street, we're breathing in those toxins from the road. We're breathing in toxins all day, every day. And again, they can affect our microbiome, and this helps to improve our microbiome. When we have anything that creates a survival pattern in our body, that can create deep survival systems where the unconscious brain decides that it's important for you to gain fat to protect yourself. Because this has such a good thermogenesis power behind it, that'll help to calm the nervous system via the vagus nerve and protect you from putting on weight via the thermogenesis effect. This matured bitter hops extract, I'm pretty darn excited about it. Can I ask you, Isabella, what are you excited about for it when it arrives?
Just helping my family, actually. I've got my husband and a daughter that's got a lot of weight that they need to lose. Both have heart problems. So just for them to be getting that fat off will just give them a completely different life.
Yeah.
My husband also has an autoimmune disease, and I'm hoping it'll help with that as well.
Yeah, I sort of was chatting to one of my guys this morning who's been injured pharmaceutically in the last few years. And I've known him for about 15 years, and now he's got this bad twitch. And I was just sort of thinking, man, we've got to get that nervous system, sort of being empowered, get that nervous system empowered by that vagus nerve. It's very exciting. Yeah, no, that's really exciting for you. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Same in our family, we've just got people who really need that support. Kirsten, what are you excited about?
I'm excited just to not have to be punishing myself when I'm eating. And I love that analogy that you've put up about the fact that the calories they all equal, they become equal. And because, we've been conditioned that losing fat is a lot of work. It's hard work. And the fact that this is so simple. The other thing that I'm really excited about is that the inflammation, reducing inflammation in the body as well with that visceral fat, reduction. It's just mind blowing. Like, we've made it in our life so complex and complicated to be well and healthy, whereas this is just so simple. And I think people just discount the fact because it is.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
Like, we're changing the paradigm now. This is with a mature bit of hops extract, just changing the way we did things. And, and I've done the HCG, I don't know how many times I've been around the merry-go-round with it.
Yes.
And then restrictive calories, yes, you can lose the weight, absolutely. But, next minute you turn around and you've got it plus interest. And that's not sustainable. So that's, I'm really excited for this, for myself, for my family as well, that we can just get that balance back. And as you mentioned, with just everything we're bombarded with now, just giving our body that chance with that vagus nerve resetting, it's just phenomenal. It's a prayer that we've all been waiting for, the answer to the prayer we've all been waiting for, actually. I think
absolutely, it's quite phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love, because it is so tiny, so like that's it. That's it, so when it goes into our cup, that's it. So I had one lady contact me last night, and she said she squeezes it in, she sucks the rest out. She doesn't want any of that liquid gold to go anywhere else except in her little body.
That's
and because it can go in anything. And I think this is one of the things that is sort of making people confused about the ethics or the ethos of the company, is the fact that they did a few studies associated with alcohol.
Yes.
And because they did a few studies associated with alcohol, people are thinking that's bad ethics or a bad ethos from the company themselves. Whereas I see it, because even when I run my bioresonance, alcohol shows up in the gut of many people, even when they don't drink. So thinking about alcohol for a sec, if your gut isn't working and your food is fermenting in your gut, you can be creating alcohol.
Yeah.
That's going to be used as calories first, stored as fat first.
Yeah.
It's nuts. So we do need to, I totally agree. I was at a metagenic seminar about 10 years ago, and they were talking about obesogens in our diet. And it was the first time I'd ever heard that term. And what was interesting is just about every additive, preservative, pesticide is an obesogen. They all mess with our endocrine system. So again, I'm really excited, because one of the numbers to keep in mind, and this is where we can all be aiming because we now have a really good tool, when we suck our tummies in as women, we want our waist to be smaller than 32.5 inches.
Yeah.
For men, when we suck our tummy in, because that takes the fluid out of the equation, when we suck our tummy in as men, 34.5 inches. Anything over that, your fat mass is starting to become the number one endocrine system of the body. It starts controlling our health. So when we've got that abdominal obesity, that visceral fat, that omental fat, what it ends up doing is changing the hormonal function in your body. It can lower the thyroid function. It can increase adrenaline. It can increase cortisol. Cortisol messes with your memory. It can mess with memory. It can change estrogen to testosterone in women and make us that sort of, you know, more masculine. It can change testosterone to estrogen in men and make them more feminine. It can do all sorts of things with all sorts of hormones. That abdominal fat can become the major endocrine organ of the body. It is not inert fat.
You know what, I was driving in this morning, you know, with all this hormone disruption. Helps with the chin whiskers.
Yes, well, I do wonder whether it will do that, because I think that's part of the estrogen converting to testosterone.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be part of that.
Yeah, so I'll let people know. I'll just keep me in check, and I'll just work out whether the chin whiskers disappear.
Well, no, thank you, because these are the sort of things people are going to be like, how is it going to affect our hormones? I'm so excited about that.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome. Just so many things.
Yeah. And because of the thermogenesis, we're actually creating, because people think of heat in the body as inflammation. Thermogenesis isn't inflammatory. Thermogenesis is increasing the cellular energy of every major organ in our body, which is so exciting. So bit by bit, they're going to be able to work more functionally, detox more effectively. If we get in the water, you know, get your walking in when you can, do your saunas when you can, do everything you can. Obviously, the more positive stuff we do, the more benefit we're going to get from this.
And I think really, if we're just moving more to whatever our capacity is, that if we move more moves in our body, you know, we start that process. If we're sedentary, I think it will still work. I believe it will, but you'll just get a better result, I believe. If we're not saying go out and, you know, run a marathon, it's just move.
Yeah. Just sitting is inflammatory. And that's what I was sort of thinking about this morning. So if people, you know, it's just sort of think, you know, because I've been thinking about nonstop for days now. So,
really?
You know, it's sort of making me think, right, so if we are going out there and eating heaps of gluten and sugar and alcohol and things, that's a lot more microbiome support your body needs. That's a lot more inflammatory stuff we've put into our body. So then what's this going to choose to do? For a start, we know it does the thermogenesis. But are we going to keep creating damage to our microbiome because we're not choosing carefully?
Yeah.
Like bit by bit, you know, it can only do what it can do. Absolutely amazing it is. It can only do what it can do. So the more positive things we can do in our world, the better, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
It is.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you, ladies. That was awesome.
Thanks.
Nice chatting.